Good morning, Startup Grind. What's up? You're here. Well done. Well done. You guys have fun last night? Everything go all right? Everybody get home? Anybody sleep at the theater? Well, we're excited to kick off our last day, and it's going to be pretty amazing. I hope, just in general, I hope things have been going well. Let me make a couple of announcements. The first is, if you haven't taken the survey yet, Kauffman Foundation, kind of premier entrepreneurial foundation organization in the world, is giving away a T-shirt if you filled out the survey. So bit.ly/grind15. Grind15. bit.ly/grind15. Just do it while you're sitting here this morning. And head over in the booth in the back, and they'll take care of you. Big thanks to all of our partners, everybody that makes this event possible. Google for Entrepreneurs, we have a big announcement happening with them in a couple of hours. Excited about that. Steve Case is going to be here from AOL Revolution. Scott Cook, from the founder of Intuit. Vinod Khosla from Khosla Ventures. I'm sad to say Mark Suster, for those of you who are looking forward to him, I know I was, he is extremely sick. And very, very sick. He was going to tough it out and find a way to get up here. He's come our last couple of years, and he was very, very sorry that he couldn't make it or can't make it. But hopefully he's already committed to coming next year. So please, wish him well on Twitter. He is stuck in bed. So we have a great speaker that's going to be filling in for him. I think you're going to love to hear him. So. We should be well taken care of. Couple of things for Vinod Khosla's talk. We were going to do the workshop Q&A at the end in the workshop room. We're actually going to do it in here. So after Vinod's talk, I'll announce it then as well. But there's a break going on at the same time. So if you want to leave after his interview with me, you're welcome to get up. We'll give you a minute to get up and leave and go to the break. If you want to go to the Q&A, just stay in your seats, and then after that, we'll go right into Steve Case, so there won't be a break if you stick around for the whole thing. Has anybody met anyone interesting here over the last few days? Okay, good. For those that didn't raise hands, you got one more day, so make it hot. Get to work. I met randomly. This is not some contrived thing. The founder of the co-founder Match, Will Bunker, is here. Is he here right now? He was here yesterday. The co-founder of EA was here. Never met him. A gentleman by the name of Jeff. Trip Hawkins. Jeff, there's, I think, a couple other guys who were involved. He was here yesterday. Founder of Guitar Hero was here yesterday. Founder of Rotten Tomatoes was here yesterday. Just in the audience, just walking amongst you. So look for these people. You don't know who you're sitting next to until you ask them who they are. So please make sure and do that. That's all I got. You know to stand up, right? When the speakers come out, do we need to practice that again? Or No. Larry's like, please, no. I can't take it. Well, you're going to have to do it in 2 seconds. So I won't make you do it. But hope you have a great day. And we got a lot of exciting things to announce, and that'll be happening here. So without further ado, Lee Blaylock. Come on out, Lee. Kick it off.
Hola. Come on, raise the roof. All right, now go down. Okay. So I'm sure a lot of you all have heard of the Teach for America, yeah? I bet there's some alumni in here. Our guest, Vanessa Colella, was not only in the original core group, but I'm particularly proud because Wendy Kopp, who started Teach for America, actually went to high school with me. A lot of fun. So it's a great organization, and we might even have some former core members in the audience. So after that, she also went on to get her PhD from the MIT Media Lab, where she also got her undergrad at MIT. She was a McKinsey partner. She was an SVP at Yahoo, and check this out, an EIR US VP for that alphabet soup. So without any more further ado, let's raise the roof for Vanessa.
Thanks, man. Woo! Nice. Thank you, guys. It's great to be here. A ton of energy. It's my first startup grind, so I hope it'll be the first of many. And hope that you guys had a great time last night as well. I wanted to spend just a couple minutes this morning talking about what do we see in venture, because my guess is most of the people in the audience who are entrepreneurs, you didn't start your company because what you really, really had a burning desire to do is raise money, right? You started your company because you had a great product idea, you wanted to change an industry, you wanted to do something really different. And the reality is that people talk all the time about how there are these disruptive forces that are changing industries, right? What's happening in banking? Yesterday we heard, what's happening in healthcare. But what I think is kind of fascinating is a lot of these same forces are really changing the landscape from a fundraising point of view as well. And so I thought I'd spend a couple minutes this morning telling you how we see it from the funding side, in case that might be helpful as you're all thinking about, what do I do at the really early stage? What do I do once my company gets some momentum? And how do I figure out not the place to raise money from, but the best place to raise money from? Because our thesis is that capital is not enough, right? If all you needed was capital, you go get a bank loan, right? What you need are people around the table who are going to champion you and your company and your idea and really make it a success. So what we're seeing a lot in the venture space is just many, many more options. But the kind of cool thing is that even as there are these more options, you're also seeing a number of trends that are making it a bit easier to access these options. So one is a huge demand for transparency. So true across all industries, but you're getting a lot more transparency in the funding space as well. The second is, and we'll talk about this a fair amount, is access to smart capital. And smart could mean something really different for you than the person sitting next to you, right? Kind of depends what you need and what your company is trying to accomplish. And then last but not least, a better customer experience. And in this case, I think it's really important as an entrepreneur, you're always feeling like you're kind of up against the world to get your idea out and born and living and launch. But you are the customer when it comes to raising money. And so that demand for an experience that really lets you figure out what's the right place for you to go. I think what you see if you just read the headlines is all sorts of changing dynamics, right? And an easy way to summarize this from my perspective is there's a lot more people coming in at the early stage that didn't used to be playing there, that's squeezing the VC industry in one direction. And there's a lot more late stage players who are searching for yield, who are also squeezing down. And so you're just seeing a lot of tumult in the fundraising space. But the great news for all of you in the audience is that this is a time where money is reasonably plentiful for good ideas. And so the question is then just how do you go after getting that? I view fundraising as a marathon, not a sprint. Having been married to an entrepreneur for 20 years, I can tell you it doesn't always feel that way in the other seat, right? Sometimes it feels like, oh my gosh, we've got to sprint to get this fundraising done. But the reality is that fundraising is a series of choices over the early life of your company that will all add up to something in terms of the people that you have around the table to advise you. And so in that capacity, I thought we'd take a look this morning at what's happening in the really early stage and then what's happening a bit in the later stage. In the early stage, you can see angel money is up, institutional seed money is down. What I find really kind of cool is that you hear a lot and you read a lot of articles about the fact that it takes companies less money to be successful at an early stage today than it did 15 or 20 years ago. You've got the cloud, you've got different distribution channels. What you hear less about is what are the implications for how long that takes and how young the entrepreneurs are who are being successful. So this is a graphic that we put together to look at things like, when HP and Oracle went public in '57 and '86, the founders were in their mid-40s, right? Then you start to think about whether it's Box or Facebook, et cetera, you're starting to see much younger founders at that big liquidity event. This would be only sort of intellectually interesting, except that many of these people, and this is just a smattering selection, but many of these people are putting this money back into the very kind of ventures that are being started by everyone sitting in the audience today. And what that means is a lot more access to early capital from a whole different set of people than might have been the case 20 years ago when most of those founders who finally had liquidity were just much older and they weren't quite in the same scene as all of you are in. And this isn't just angels, right? This is also folks from Facebook, folks from Google starting their own venture firms and seed firms as well. The other thing that won't be any surprise to this audience is that there's just been an explosion in the number of accelerators, incubators. All this stuff is out there to help you succeed as a company. The question is, what do you pick, right? Great that there are not 25 accelerators, but 170 accelerators. But as a CEO and a founder, you really only need one. The question is which one and how do you find it? Similarly with crowdfunding, I mean, I found this statistic amazing, right? $1,000 a minute. If only KQED could do that, then I wouldn't have to go through fundraising every morning, right? I mean, it's just incredible the amount of capital that's out there. So when we look at that landscape from an early stage point of view, we think there are probably some principles that maybe are helpful to this group. So one is, how do you just roughly map that out, right? So you've got all these angels, you've got incubators, you've got early stage and seed VCs. For us, if you're a tech company, there's a whole lot of validity for thinking about some of the things like a Y Combinator, Techstars, right? Because they really give you great validation for your idea, and they've seen those kinds of patterns of companies starting before. If you're sector specific, so yesterday you heard a lot about healthcare. We spend a lot of time, as you can imagine, in financial services. Then you can see the accelerator, the incubator space as a place that's really helpful for early stage companies, largely because you're trying to navigate not only the expertise you need in a particular sector, but also how do you deal with the regulatory environment, right? And having people who have had experience and who've seen that before can just really help accelerate your own success. From a crowdfunding point of view, we've seen a lot of success for consumer products companies here because it gives you that great way to validate. Right? We always say, there's no point in surveying people, right? You need to actually see the behavior of people, not what they say they're going to do. We all say we're going to do things, right? But what do people actually do? And the crowdfunding sites really can give you a very early indicator as a consumer products company of whether you're going to be successful or not. And then finally, you're all familiar with things like AngelList, right? A lot of enterprise companies are tapping into those sorts of early stage funding opportunities because you get a level of expertise from those board members or those advisors that you might not get elsewhere. What I think is equally interesting to the very early stage is once you get past seed and you raise your Series A, what else is happening in the venture world? And what we see a lot of is what I like to call value-added capital, right? The idea that I said at the beginning, right, money isn't enough. So if you look at the top 20 venture firms, I mean, you can make your own list, but when we looked at a list, we'd posit that about 6 of those firms are firms that are investing very heavily in how do they help entrepreneurs and companies scale efficiently and effectively. If you look at the top 5, 3 are doing that, and 2, Google and Andreessen, didn't even exist a few years ago. So this move towards what are the resources that we as funders can bring to bear on your behalf is really important. Just because it was fun, I said to my team before this, I said, well, let's look and see if there really has been this change. It's one thing to talk about value-added capital, but how do we discern whether or not investors really think about the world differently? So we went to the Wayback Machine, and we looked up a bunch of random, it doesn't matter who this is, but you can do it for almost any venture firm. And if you look back 10 or 15 years, the bulk of what was being communicated was investor first, or these are the themes we invest in. And if you just go to today, right, what you're looking at is entrepreneur first, right? These are the people that we're championing. And I think that's important because, as I said at the beginning, you guys are the customers, right? And so figuring out who is going to be the champion of you is very important. There are lots of different models in sort of Series B, Series C investing in terms of what it looks like for these VCs to help you. But I also think it's instructive just to look at the difference in what those models look like. So it used to be that when you went to Sand Hill Road, you encountered an investor and maybe a junior person. And now what you're going to encounter is what you see in blue on this chart, which is who can help me with my product design? Who can help me hire? Who can help me figure out how to break into the Fortune 500 because that's who I need to be selling to? And this is where I think it's important to take that stance of, even though it's stressful and it's hard to raise money, it takes a lot of time, it is a marathon, and that marathon matters for your business. And as you choose who you're going to put around the table, who you're going to put on your board of advisors Do you want a corporate who can help you sell into large enterprises? Or do you want an angel who's been there before and done something similar? You might be looking for validation or operational savvy or a way to scale your sales or, frankly, just a way to hire people more efficiently and effectively. But you've all heard, right, 15 years ago in the Valley, every idea was stealth because it was the idea that mattered. Today, it's execution that matters. And so you can use that fundraising mechanism to really bolster your ability to execute on the idea that you've got and how you're going to change the world. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm happy to take questions afterwards. We'll hang around for the day. But congratulations to all of you, because you're doing stuff that will change the world, and we're excited to be a part of it. So thank you.